They didn't pick me because they thought I was dangerous. They picked me because they thought I was safe to laugh at. I still remember the sound of it, that half-chuckle, half-yawn kind of laugh people make when they're bored and looking for entertainment. We were inside a private training facility on the west side, all matte black walls and motivational quotes stenciled in white. The kind of place where everyone walks like they're already being filmed. I wasn't there to train. Not officially. I worked nights, contract work, helped reset equipment, wipe down mats, lock up. Invisible work. The kind where people step around you without ever really seeing you. That night, a group of guys were still hanging around after a closed session. Loud voices, ego-heavy air. One of them, tall, expensive haircut confidence borrowed from someone else's success, looked at me and said, "Hey, let her gear up. Might be funny." Funny. Another voice chimed in, "Yeah, come on, just a light spar." She looks athletic, in a quiet way. They laughed like they'd already won. I stood there holding a towel, feeling every pair of eyes finally land on me, not with curiosity, not with respect, but with that look people get when they think they've found a toy that won't fight back. I smiled. Not because I thought it was funny, because I've learned that when people underestimate you, silence is the sharpest blade you have. They didn't know anything about me, and that was the point. To them, I was just the woman who cleaned up after their sweat. Plain clothes, no makeup, hair tied back because it got in the way of work. I never talked about myself, never joined the locker room conversations, never corrected anyone when they assumed I didn't belong. People like that think confidence has to announce itself. I learned early on that real confidence waits. One of them leaned back against a heavy bag and said, "Relax, it's just for fun. We'll go easy on you." That's when something shifted. Not anger, not yet, more like clarity. Because "we'll go easy on you" isn't kindness. It's permission. And I don't ask for permission anymore. I said, "Set the rules." The room went quiet for half a second. Not because they respected me, but because they didn't expect compliance. They expected excuses, fear, maybe a joke. Someone raised an eyebrow. "You serious?" I nodded. "You choose the rounds. You choose the pace." A pause, then grins. Phones came out. Of course they did. I could feel the old instinct rise up, the one that tells you to prove yourself immediately, loudly, with force. That instinct has ruined a lot of people I grew up around. I buried it years ago. While they argued over gloves and joked about not breaking a nail, I watched them. How they stood. How they shifted their weight. Who needed to be the center of attention. Who was already breathing too hard before anything even started. One guy stepped forward. He had the look, broad shoulders, tight jaw, someone who'd been told his whole life that physical dominance was the same thing as authority. He smirked. "I'll take her." Of course you will, I thought. We touched gloves. His grip was tight, performative. Mine was relaxed. The first 30 seconds were exactly what I expected. He came in fast, swinging wide, trying to make a point, trying to scare me. I didn't counter. I didn't rush. I just moved. Half steps. Angles. Let him feel like he was almost there. The laughter faded first, then the noise. All that was left was breath and footwork and the dull sound of shoes on mat. I could feel the room recalibrate that moment when people realize the joke isn't landing anymore. When they start leaning forward instead of back. When confidence quietly asks itself if it made a mistake. He got frustrated. They always do. "You gonna do something?" he snapped. I thought about answering, decided not to. When I finally moved, it wasn't dramatic. No big strike, no crowd-pleasing moment, just control, distance, timing. I redirected him once, twice, until his balance betrayed him before I ever did. I stopped short, purposefully. That's the thing people don't understand. The most powerful moment isn't when you hurt someone. It's when you show them you could have, and chose not to. I stepped back and said quietly, "We're done." No one argued. No one laughed. Someone cleared their throat. Another guy muttered, "Damn." The man across from me wouldn't meet my eyes. Not because he was injured, his ego was. And ego bruises louder than bodies ever do. I took off the gloves, set them down, and reached for my towel. My hands were steady. My heartbeat was calm. That surprised even me. As I turned to leave, someone finally said my name. Not the nickname they'd been using, my real one. I didn't answer. I walked out into the night air, the door closing behind me, with that heavy metallic click that feels like punctuation. The kind that tells you a sentence has ended whether people are ready for it or not. On the way home, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear. Clear about how many rooms I'd been underestimated in. Clear about how often people confuse loudness with worth. Clear about how dangerous it is to believe someone is small just because they don't announce themselves. Here's the part people always ask about later: if it felt good, if it felt like revenge. It didn't, because revenge needs witnesses. What I felt didn't. What I felt was release. I didn't win because I proved I was better. I won because I never let them decide who I was in the first place. And that's something no gym, no crowd, no comment section can take from you. So here's what I want to know when someone underestimates you. Do you think it's better to prove them wrong in front of everyone, or let your silence force them to sit with their mistake? Tell me what you think.